Good evening guys and welcome back to the FM Scout YouTube channel with me, Teach FM. Now we have an experiment in tonight's video, and this experiment does involve both Real Madrid and Barcelona coming to try and play their game in the English Premier League. But before we get into it, I would just like to point you in the direction of my channel, where I'm currently in control of Manchester United. We are currently at the business end of Season 3, chasing that Champions League, so if you could maybe pop over, take a view of the couple of videos, maybe even drop a little sub. That'll be grand. The link will be in the description. So as we can see from the Premier League table in front of us, we have both Real Madrid and Barcelona in the Premier League. So it's one of those things, innit, guys? We've all discussed it before. Us lot in the scout team have discussed it. I've discussed it over bars with gents when I've been out about these two teams from Spain. Full of world-class players, great players, some of the best teams that have been available in European football for many, many years. And the question has always been, is La Liga maybe too much of a two-horse race? Are they getting to face strong opposition on a week-by-week basis? And the argument's always weighed either side. Some people saying, yes, they're far too strong for La Liga, and other people saying, well, no, La Liga's a strong league. They're just great teams within there, and no wonder they're doing well. So, however, before we get into it, we have got some housekeeping, just so you guys are fully aware of how this has been put together. So we have, of course, made database changes for this to happen. We've moved both Real Madrid and Barcelona into the Premier League. And of course, we've had to drop two teams out of the league. Now, we've carried that down throughout all the divisions, so everything in England is fine. And we've also ensured that the leagues in Spain are fine as well, so it's all been done correctly. Now, of course, moving two teams to the Premier League, there's going to be homegrown issues. So what we'll do is I'll just show you now. We'll go to, say, Barcelona, and we'll just go to the senior squad. And what we'll do is we'll go to registration. So you can see they've got homegrown players all over the show. What we've done here is we've made players dual nationality. So Sergio Busquets, for example, we'll just go to his information. And as you can see, he's Spain declared. However, we had him as dual national, based in England, so that he basically ticks the homegrown quota. However, he will still play for Spain. This is the best way to make this experiment fair, so that both Barcelona and Real Madrid have their full squads for both the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and everything that's rolled into it. Which leads me on to the next thing that we did. Barcelona and Real Madrid will still compete in the Champions League. This experiment is a one-season wonder. This is not about how Real Madrid and Barcelona are going to do in England over the course of 5-10 years. This is for the now. This is for these world-class teams to see whether they could handle the rigours of the Premier League for one single year. So they'll still play in the Champions League. However, they're of course going to be playing in the EFL Cup, the FA Cup, and of course the Premier League. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. Just wanted to let you guys know what those database changes were. If anyone would like the save file, we can pop it in the description. You can go through, have a look. But we wanted to make this as fair as possible. It's a fun experiment, but we wanted to make sure that basically Real Madrid and Barcelona get the same chance as every other team in the Premier League. So first thing we'll do then is we'll take a quick look at the season preview, and it has to be said that Real Madrid are favourites in the Premier League to walk away with the title. Barcelona's second at 11-4, and then it's Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, United and Liverpool. One thing I'll highlight now is we're not going to focus on any of the British teams. This is solely about the Spanish teams and to see how they do. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go forward a little bit of time just to after the transfer window, see if anybody bought any players, and just to see how the campaigns have started. So here we are then on September the 1st. The summer transfer window's just closed and we are only 3 games into the season. Manchester United currently lead the table by just 1 point. Both Real Madrid and Barcelona sat on 6 points. However, Real Madrid have already suffered their first loss. If we take a quick look at the player stats while we're here, we can see that from a goal scoring point of view, none of the Spanish players have made it in there. However, Messi is at the top of the average rating with Gerard Piqué in third. Iniesta's got 2 assists and Leo Messi is the top of the player of the match. Other than that, there's nothing else to be said about the players. Before we go and have an individual look at both Real Madrid and Barcelona though, we will just take a quick look at the transfers to see whether any of these teams added any players. So there we go then, that is the first transfer window, and as we can see, both Barcelona and Real Madrid signed nobody, not spent a single penny, so they're going to have this is great for the experiment, they're going to have the squads that they currently have in La Liga in the Premier League for this year, which I think is going to make the experiment even more perfect. We will go from here though. We'll take a quick look at both Real Madrid and Barcelona, see who those first few games were, and see whether there was any sort of surprise packages in the fixtures. So there we go then. We'll start with Barcelona. As we can see, they've played 2 games, won 2 games. They've had a home tie against Spurs, then they've had an away tie against Southampton, walking out 2-1 winners in each game. So not a bad start for Barcelona. However, if you remember, Real Madrid have suffered a defeat, so let's go and have a look at that. And there we go, Real Madrid. So they started off, they got a 4-1 win at the Bernabeu against Bournemouth. Then they went away to the Hawthorns to play West Brom. And would you look at that, they took a beating. They got beat 2-1, and it doesn't go to show anything. The experiment's very early. However, one thing I highlighted right at the beginning of the episode was it's a league that is known to sort of let anybody can beat anybody on their day. And that's certainly been the case for West Brom on that day. However, Real Madrid then go on to play Liverpool, win 3-0, resurrect a little bit of faith. And yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to head to the end of the January transfer window. We're obviously going to have a lot more fixtures to look at. We're going to be able to see whether any business was done in the winter window. And with a little bit of luck, we'll see whether Real Madrid or Barcelona are mounting a serious challenge in the Premier League. So here we are then, February the 1st, the winter window is just closed. And the first thing we see is that it is Arsenal sat atop the Premier League. Real Madrid in second, they are only a point off, followed by Manchester United and then Barcelona. Barcelona currently 7 points adrift from the top of the league. We're looking at the player stats. We can see Cristiano Ronaldo is at the top of the goal scoring charts. Leo Messi is still at the top of the average rating charts. And as for the assists, no players from either Barca or Real Madrid have made it in there. Lionel Messi still sat the top of player of the match. And Keylor Navas has got 10 clean sheets in the Premier League. Once again, we take a look at the transfer window, and neither Barcelona nor Real Madrid have added a single player. However, Real Madrid have sold Nacho for a fee of 8.25 million. However, where these Spanish teams have been dominating is in the player of the month. So from August all the way through to December, players from either Real Madrid or Barcelona featured in the player of the month, with the exception of January, where Juan Mata won for United. So they had Leo Messi, Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo, Suarez and Messi again winning the players of the month. And we'll just check out the young player of the month. And as you can see, that is dominated by Premier League team players. The last one to check will be manager of the month, and a very mixed bag. So Zidane's won it in January, Wenger won it in December, Enrique in November, Zidane in October, Mourinho in September, and Enrique in August. So it's been an even keel, it's all been shared about. I thought one thing that was definitely worth checking out as well was where the Ballon d'Or went, and it did go to Lionel Messi. Now this isn't necessarily anything that is affected too much by the Premier League, because of course it is over a whole calendar year, but I certainly wanted to just check it out while we was here. But what we'll do now is we're going to have a quick look at Barcelona and Real Madrid and see how they've got on in their schedules and see whether they've maybe had any massive wins or of course any bad beats. So we'll start with Barcelona, and as we can see, as we know, they played Tottenham and Southampton last time we seen them, then beat Arsenal 1-0. They got Leverkusen in the Champions League, Leyton Orient. Oh, look at that one. Barcelona went out of the EFL Cup third round on penalties against Leyton Orient. Wow. They then kept on marching on until, of course, they played what I suppose for the Premier League you could call their derby, in which they got beat 2-1 by Real Madrid. I'm just trying to highlight any of the bigger wins, maybe any of the bigger losses. Liverpool managed to beat Barcelona at home, which as well, a little bit of a, maybe not a shock. Liverpool, a decent enough side, certainly can cobble together a good team to beat them. Manchester City give them a beating. Some of the draws they've picked up once again, West Brom, Watford, Southampton. So, I mean, at the moment, although the experiment is far from over, as we scroll down, there's still more games here. We can see they drew in the FA Cup fourth round against West Ham. They went on a bit of a bad run, really, getting beat by Tottenham 2-1. Then they got beat by Arsenal, both Sunderland and West Ham getting a draw. So not a great run at that period of the year for Barcelona. But I think first thing it's highlighted is they're not getting every game like it has been known when they've been in La Liga. What we'll do now, though, is we'll just go check out Real Madrid also. And it has to be said, looking at the overall schedule at the moment, it doesn't look like Real Madrid have had a great time either. They did get beat by United in the Premier League. They then got knocked out of the EFL third round themselves, but by Manchester City. But then they went on quite a good run over the course of, I would say, around about 15 or 20 games, where They played in the FIFA World Club Cup as well, of course, being the holders of the Champions League. And then when they came back from that, things weren't too rosy. They took a beating by Southampton. They drew against Arsenal, then got beat by Bournemouth, then went on another little bit of a run, beating Liverpool, Sunderland and Aston Villa, before a couple of draws against both Swansea and West Brom. And then they started to march on. That has to be said, of course, Real Madrid are right at the top of the league at the moment, sat in second behind Arsenal. They've mounted a good push, but I would say both Real Madrid and Barcelona are maybe a little bit surprised about how tough the Premier League can be. I mean, some of the results we're seeing here, both Real Madrid and Barcelona are known to pretty much almost week in, week out go out and stomp their opponents quite regularly. And maybe when they're in the Premier League, they soon see that that is not a possibility. So there we go then. The next time we see this screen, it will be when the Premier League is all over and done with. We're going to check out both Real Madrid and Barcelona's cup runs to see how they went on, although we already know that both of them went out of the EFL Cup. We'll also see how they did in the European competitions, and we'll see whether any of their players managed to pick up any of the end of season awards. And here we are then, it is the 4th of June, and Arsenal were the team who went on to win the Premier League. Real Madrid finishing second and Barcelona finishing third. It has to be said that they've done okay, however we've got to remember, Real Madrid were firm favourites and Barcelona a very close second favourite. So, in the grand scheme of things, I would say they've done okay. However, we're going to take a quick look at the players here. So as you can see, Cristiano Ronaldo did end up top goal scorer. Leo Messi did end up with a top average rating. Also with the most man of the matches, Keylor Navas just got pipped to the Golden Glove by Petr Cech. He managed to keep one more clean sheet than him. And yes, well, that's it. One thing that we can highlight here, just as we look over towards the league table, is Barcelona did manage to suffer 7 defeats. They got 7 losses. Real Madrid only getting 5. So maybe they didn't quite find it as easy as the bookies were making it. We will take a quick look at each team individually though. So here's Real Madrid. As we know, they finished second. They got knocked out of the third round of the EFL Cup by Manchester City. In the Champions League, they were knocked out in the quarter-final by Bayern Munich. One thing that's worth noting here is that we know Barcelona aren't going to go ahead and win it because Bayern Munich were the team to go on and win. They did win the UEFA Super Cup, James Rodriguez managing to grab the goal. And then they got knocked out in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. So would Real Madrid class this as a successful season? Let's be honest, they've sacked managers for less in the past. And there we have it then. So Barcelona, they did manage to come runners-up in the Champions League, which is not to be sniffed at. I think they must have done okay to get as far as that when you consider that in the Premier League, sitting down in third, every time we've seen them, it's been sort of third or fourth, so at least they were pushing well in Europe. They also finished runner-up in the FA Cup, and of course, as we know, they got knocked out by a lowly Leyton Orient in the EFL Cup. So, successful season for Barcelona? Not necessarily, however, arguably, they did a little bit better than Real Madrid. They managed to get to the final of 2 cup competitions and trailed Real Madrid in the league by only 6 points. So as we move on to the Player of the Month awards, and as we can see, Neymar was another of the Spanish players to be awarded Player of the Month, along with Cristiano Ronaldo in the very final month of the season. We'll have a quick look at the Young Player of the Month awards as well. And again, maybe Real Madrid and Barcelona showing that they're not giving too much youth an opportunity, because none of their youth players featured in this award throughout the whole season. Maybe that was their downfall. Maybe if they use their squad size a little bit more, something that they're maybe not quite used to doing when they're in Spain, but maybe something they should consider in the Premier League, because squad depth is key when fighting on all fronts. In the months of February and March, both Zinedine Zidane and Luis Enrique added themselves a Manager of the Month award, but as the season closed in, it switched back to the English teams, with Beasler winning it in April and then Pep Guardiola winning it in May. The Manager of the Year award went to Arsene Wenger, of course, Arsenal winning the Premier League, so it doesn't come as any surprise there. And we'll also just check the Footballer of the Year, and it went to Leo Messi. Obviously, very high average rating, lots of player of the matches. It doesn't come as any surprise. So there we go then, guys. That was our fun little experiment. As I say, it was a one-season wonder. It was just something to see whether these teams could come in and basically dominate the English game the way they do the Spanish. I personally don't really feel that they did. I think, of course, they gave a very good account themselves in the Premier League. However, when they were challenging on all fronts, points were let slip throughout various phases of the season, and ultimately it damaged their chances of winning the Premier League title. I think it goes to show that maybe the Premier League is a little bit tougher than La Liga. So I hope you've enjoyed the little experiment. It was nothing but a little bit of fun. Drop any comments in the comment section, any ideas that you guys have about this little experiment. Maybe you'd like me to try another couple of teams going forward. It's something we can do for the channel without any problems whatsoever. If you did enjoy the episode, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're new around here, consider subscribing to FM Scout. We have great content here every day. And while I mention FM Scout, don't forget to head over to fmscout.com, where of course you'll find all the latest news, views, graphics, face packs, you name it guys, it's all on there and it's certainly worth checking out. Other than that, I've been Teach FM and I'll catch you later. See you in a bit.